I thought the show opened up really well with MJF and Hangman Adam
Oh
Page.
yeah.
I thought that was a pretty damn good match, and MJF was smart to open this pay-per-view up because he did not want to follow some of that stuff there towards the end. So I thought they did a great job, a great match, and I was a little bit surprised actually that Adam Page won, but it was a great match.
Yeah, I liked the match a lot. It was like it started off good. It was nice and long. It was told a good story. MJF is back to being MJF, but we still have like I know I was listening to Joe Lanza on his show talking about how Page is kind of back to his part in the company. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think that's quite accurate. This isn't the anxious cowboy, the anxious, how do they call it? Anxious millennial cowboy, Adam Page.
Right.
This dude is a lot rougher around the edges. It's a lot darker of a character, but people still love him because he's Adam Page. And I think they just have a really, really great chemistry together in the ring. I want to see these guys continue to work together. I really thought it was a damn good match. It paled in comparison to the drama we had later, but for an opener of this good wrestling, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was great too. So did they just completely drop Jeff Jarrett and MJF? Is that just totally done?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, something might happen to Jeff because, like, usually when Tony just goes completely cold on a story, somebody usually got hurt. Jeff just got announced for bringing a claim back, so it's possible Jeff just had some business stuff just coming back. Who the hell knows when it comes to Jeff Jarrett? You know?
Right. Yeah. That guy's always like working some type of angle.
He's the best.
He's the carniest.
Best.
The carniest of all the carnies is old Double
So-
J Jeff Jarrett.
So Memphis, I just love it.
Yeah. Next we had Mercedes Moné, versus Momo Watanabe. What'd you think of this match?
Okay. I had no idea who Momo Watanabe was. I've heard the name. Like, I listened to our good buddy Scott, right?
Yep.
So I know of these people.
And Daza too, sir. Daza.
Of course, Daza. Love Daza. Great dude. But I paid like attention peripherally. So I've heard of Momo Watanabe. And then I see her swinging this baseball bat, cracking people. I'm like, this is my kind of chick. And then I see her just kicking the shit out of Mercedes the whole time, like in the face. I am a Momo Watanabe fan.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Hey, did anybody tell her that did the lady from Queen of the Ring from later in the evening, did she tell Momo that it's supposed to be fake? I don't know. Like, somebody should like smarten this kid up.
What the fuck was that, by the way, when they interviewed the extras? You guys know who's going to win beforehand. Hey, what the fuck, man? I don't go into your movie and tell you, hey, by the way, this is all the work too. Come on. Like, we get it. You don't got to rub our faces in it. No, man, I was a big fan of that match. Like, Mercedes, I don't love all of her stuff, but when she's on, she's pretty damn good. And I think that tonight they had really good chemistry. I could watch these two wrestle multiple times over.
Yeah, you could tell that Mercedes got a lot of pull because I don't think in any other world would they ever bring in Momo Watanabe in a big spot like this in like her debut match. But you could tell that Mercedes really just wanted to wrestle her and was able to has the pull, brought her in, and then sure enough proved herself right by bringing her in. And I thought she was a world beater. I think she's probably somebody that you could bring around. She's super stiff, but so somebody that I think you could bring around because she can kick the shit out of people, and that'd be fun to watch.
Dude, Mercedes told Tony Khan, I want to get kicked in the face repeatedly, and this is the person to do it. And I have nothing but respect. Like I said, I zone out for a lot of Mercedes matches. I just do. I'm not a good person. Yeah. But I adored this match. I thought it was great.
I thought this was so. Here's my thing with Mercedes matches, and I think I said this last time, so I don't want to dwell on it. Is none of her stuff actually looks good, and she's a bit cheesy, but for whatever reason, it always ends up being a good match. Like it always ends up working, right? So I'm just like, I have these criticisms. I don't like any of her promos at all. She's not a good promo like whatsoever. So anytime she's talking, I just want to hit the fast forward button.
Never has been.
But when the matches happen, they're usually they're always a bit like sloppy and like she never does the moves well. Her finisher sucks, right? But it always works. I think she always does a good job.
She's very good at being Mercedes. Like there's something to be said about knowing what you are and staying in your lane and being very good at it. Like a Jon Moxley. Like Jon Moxley knows what he is and really stays in his lane, and 9 times out of 10 has a good match.
Yeah. So we already talked about the tag title match. We don't need to go into that again. Okada versus Brody Lee. Brody King. Sorry, Brody King.
I was disciplining my child during this moment. Like this was
Yeah.
not. This is when JD had to put out a fire. You got a 2 out of 7 on a math test. That's not good. Like so,
Yeah.
we had to have like long talks about dealing with our anxiety and like getting angry because he was getting angry that we looked at our paper. So
Right.
I didn't get to watch this one. Mike, you're gonna have to carry me for this.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought this match was pretty good, but it's on the lower end of what was on this card, which is pretty tough considering this is like a super stacked card. With Okada, I think when he's in there with bigger stars, you get more out of him. Brody King's not really a big star, but he did get the shit beat out of him the entire time. Like he just kind of took a beating the entire time and then ultimately got the victory here. So it wasn't a bad match by any means, but I didn't think it was like a tremendous match either.
I don't think this was supposed to be a tremendous match on the show. I think it was supposed to be a good match on the show. But did Okada have the working boots on? Was he like out to prove a point tonight, or was it just fine?
No, he wasn't out to prove a point, but he still took a beating. It's that was about the extent of it. It's like I don't want to call the guy lazy because he got his ass kicked the whole time, but he didn't do a whole lot either. He just let Brody King beat the shit out of him.
So, which in itself is like asking. I mean, that's
yeah. So
okay.
they clearly have a lot. They clearly think a lot of Brody King, which makes sense because I think a lot of Brody King.
Push Brody King to the moon, man. I love that guy.
But they don't think enough of him to kind of put him over these bigger stars, so he hasn't gotten over that hump yet.
True.
But and they're positioning Okada to take on Kenny Omega at one of their biggest shows in the history of the company. So he's clearly not going to be losing. They probably didn't even need to have the match at all, but they did, and it was designed to make Brody King look like a monster in a losing effort, and that's what they got.
Brody King is kind of in a similar spot to Will Hobbs. Like I don't know if you saw did you watch the pre-show?
No. Come on,
dude. I watched the pre-show part of it, and like when we were having dinner, and Andy goes, "Dad, they brought in some guy named the Rizzler." I went, "Oh God, I forgot." We were having dinner at the time, and like I forgot about that. And like I'm so happy that my son had no idea who the Rizzler was. I feel like a good dad. But so I watched the end of that, and then they brought Cage and Archer. By the way, great tag team. Like super love them together. Love the look. Big fan of that. They came out, and then Powerhouse Hobbs kind of comes out and makes the save. So I think Brody King is in a similar position to Powerhouse Hobbs, where they clearly see something in the guy, but they aren't really ready to put him to the next level over the stars yet. So you're in this weird holding pattern where you don't want him to lose a lot, but you also don't want him to win a lot. So they're almost in like wrestling purgatory.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it because they're clearly very, very good. They're probably even a little bit better than some of the people that are above them.
I agree with that, actually.
And they're younger, they're fresher,
mm-hmm.
and I think they have more long-term stability for the company. So it's like, when do they want to pull the trigger? They pulled the trigger on Swerve sooner than people probably would have expected, but I think he was just so fucking good. He could be undeniable. Powerhouse Hobbs has some limitations with promos and stuff like that, but I think he's tremendous. He's right there, and I think Brody King is tremendous too. And I think ultimately they go back to the tag team with him and Buddy Matthews. I think that's where they're probably going to go with it. But I think that he could be a singles kind of upper mid card, some semi main event type guy in this company for a long time if they decide to put him over some of these stars.
I agree. I think he had to at some point. I do. I mean, I do like him, Brody and Buddy versus Hurt Syndicate. I think that could be fun. And I think too, if you ever decide to work Cedric in there, which I think they should. Like, I'm not an advocate of picking up all these WWE guys, but it makes sense because you've already got the three of them. Why not put Cedric Alexander there and he could be a guy eat pins? For this team. And then you could have a natural three-way. I mean, I imagine you find somebody to stick in with the Hellhounds that we're calling these guys now.
Yeah.
Hellhounds, yeah.
I'm sure there's a spooky guy out there somewhere they can get.
Crazy Steve.
Yeah. He's available. He is available.
I was kidding. Please don't do that to me, universe.
I know you're gonna get some DMs over that one.
I probably will.
So we already talked about some of the other matches. Let's go to Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, which I think if you said that this was match of the night, I also can't disagree with you there. I think the two matches that I felt were match of the night. Again, I didn't watch Takeshita and Omega. Was obviously the cage match and the Hollywood ending match, but the cage match was fucking phenomenal.
Have you ever seen the music video for The King of Wishful Thinking?
No.
So the song for the movie Pretty Woman. It's the band, I think they were called Go West, and like it's very clearly their one shot to make a music video. So they're throwing everything they possibly can in this video. And at the end of it, they throw a kitchen sink onto the screen, very clearly making a joke. We're throwing the kitchen sink. That's totally how I felt about this match. Like, I was so into it, and then Mark Davis came out with the I almost said hedge clippers, with the bolt cutters, and I was like, oh fuck, here we go.
I rolled my eyes at that moment. I was just like, I don't like the WWE trope where the cage can just be opened, and because there's no DQ, nothing can happen, and I hate that.
I hate it too. I think they played it pretty good though, because of just how good all three of them really are. I did like Will doing a little Cactus Jack stuff. I think that we didn't need to go. I was so against the thumbtacks until I saw Kyle Fletcher eat a Styles Clash into the thumbtacks. And then I went, oh, okay. Okay, if we're gonna do that, I guess I'm in. Like, it was so much. And like, I thought they were gonna die when they did the Spanish Fly off the top of the cage. Like, I'm like, what? I remember thinking one of these guys could die here. Like, I
thought Will Ospreay landed pretty awful on that one. Like, he could, like, my hip clicks when I walk. I was like, Ospreay, that's how you're gonna feel in a couple years, buddy.
Yeah, he's nuts. And Kyle Fletcher isn't that much fun. Stop eating blood, by the way. I want to, we have to take this bloodborne pathogens test every year to coach. And like, it makes me sick having to do it. And watching these guys go every time they have blood on them, it's fucking nauseating. Please stop eating other people's blood.
Yeah.
God damn it.
It's
sorry.
So gross.
Oh, it's so disgusting. Kyle Fletcher does it every chance he gets. Ugh. Anyways, I love the match though. It was such good storytelling. It goes way over the top, but everything about Will Ospreay is just way over the top. Yeah. So he kind of makes at the end of the, I remember kept thinking, this is too long, it's too much, it's too long, it's too much, and then I pop huge at the end. So I'm like, I think that, but very clearly we get to the end and I'm happy. So I mean, like, I think maybe it's just my critic brain tries to take over, and then I get real excited about it again. So he's really good at going over the top.
Yeah. One that I thought was over the top, and I felt like it was still a really good match, but it won too many kickouts for me. Like, I thought it got ridiculous. Ricochet and Swerve. I thought they went past their peak. Was that match right there? And now the ending sequence I thought was really good, but I felt like 5 minutes earlier was the right time to end that match. I was just like, okay, I kind of just rolled my eyes. And at one point, Ricochet hits the 630. And Excalibur goes, ho, ho, ho. I thought we were getting a Merry Christmas out of that masked motherfucker at that point. And it was a good kick out, but then they just kept doing them. And I just felt like they did too many for my taste. Okay. But that doesn't mean that the ending wasn't still good, because I did think the ending was pretty good. Some cheeseball stuff in there with the Nana stuff, but I totally get the story they were telling. But that was that match for me where I was just like, okay, it should have ended 5 minutes earlier.
I can't argue what you're saying. It didn't bother me because I feel like if you have Ricochet, he kicks out of stuff. And that's kind of what you do with Ricochet. I liked the Nana stuff because they played it so hardly that Nana was going to turn on him, and they didn't do it. Right? It's kind of what I like about Tony Khan booking is he's really good at playing off our WWE PTSD, for lack of a better term. Sorry, Mike, I couldn't think of a better one. But I mean, like, because we all know the booking tropes of Vince. We grew up with it, right? And so we see this coming, and we think we sniff out these moments, and then Tony usually zags when when most would zig, which I appreciate. I think this Nana thing was one of them. Like, I think we all thought that, Nana and Ricochet would keep the embassy robe, and it would be a new thing, and they didn't do it. And I was like, oh, okay. Were there probably too many kickouts? Yeah, I think that's a criticism you can make of all AEW matches.
Yeah.
It's hard to single them out because, like, it's like a video game where you need like 30 finishers. But I mean, and I remember watching, I thought this during when at the top of the cage, when Ospreay and Fletcher trying to stab each other with a screwdriver, I went, I only have Magnum and Tully to blame for this. Like, this, you guys started this shit, and it only had to escalate from there. So I think it's just kind of what the company is. So I can't ever argue it's too much.
No.
But I mean, like, it's kind of like, I don't know, am I really going to bitch about too much cheese on my pizza?
No. So it's weird because I didn't think it was too much in the Ospreay match, but I did think it was too much in the Swerve match. But You know, I get it's just a matter of like how you feel when you're
Yeah.
watching it, right? It's only too much when you feel like it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
There's no set number that you have to hit. There's no percentages you have to hit. It just depends on the tempo of the match. I just felt during that match that right after Swerve kicked out of the 630, he should have hit the kill shot like a couple minutes later, and that should have been end game at that point. But then it just kept going, right? So that is just nitpicking of what was a very good match. And I'm one of those guys that's like AEW should be unapologetically AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Just be yourselves. And that's what this pay-per-view was up until the main event, which turned into fucking Backlash 2017. Like the entire show was every fucking AEW show that we've always loved. That's exactly what this was. Even with they went overboard with the kickouts and the finishers and the horse shits and all the other stuff. That's what this company's supposed to be. Yeah. That's what it was founded on. So just fucking be yourselves. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to me complaining because they, well, maybe it went about 3 minutes too long and too many kickouts. Look, that's just the way that I saw it, but that doesn't mean it wasn't great at the same time.
I agree 100%. It's very much every match is very much your mileage may vary kind of thing. Yeah. And I love AEW's because I remember back in the years for Jim Cornette talking about you book so that the main event has like the spot, right? If this show was built around the main event having the solo spot, it would have sucked as a show. I love the idea. It's the old Ring of Honor thing of like, everything is going to be the best. And if you can't handle it, you don't deserve the spot.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot to say about that. Like, if you're going to lead this company, you have to deliver. And for a long time, Jon Moxley delivered. I don't know if it's the character, if it's the work, because I watch him work. Like, he's in a phenomenal shape, right? Yeah. Like, you look at Moxley, like, the dude is built like a UFC fighter at this point. I got Jim Cornette, like, oh, he looks like a plumber. No, he looks like a dude that would kick your fucking ass.
Yeah.
Right? He's jacked, but he's furry, but he doesn't look like a juiced up guy. He looks like a dude who actually fights, right? Yeah. Now that we've been educated what a real fighter looks like. But something about the work lately has just not delivered. And I think it's just everything, because I don't think his work style has changed all that much. I think it's just like the black cloud of the Death Rider is just kind of hanging over everything. And like the wasted potential and the fact that the main event, the title, the main event and the title are kind of wrapped up in this. But it kind of has to be, because I don't think this Death Riders thing works if Moxley's not the champion,
Yeah. But overall, great pay-per-view.
Phenomenal pay-per-view.
Yeah, phenomenal pay-per-view. I think it's going to get a big, probably. I'm sure some people put a thumbs down on that deal, but for the most part, it's going to be one of the highest rated pay-per-views of all time. And the crowds are back. Like yes. They announced probably like 11 to 12, but as you were saying, they had some like VIPs who probably didn't pay to get in, but like up people there in the
suites, yeah,
up in the suites, you had some celebrities. I took a little bit of heat because I accurately stated that Leslie Jones was in the worst Ghostbusters movie of all time. That is accurate. That movie they should never released it. Okay. You can say what you want about Frozen Empire and the newer ones, but at least it's still part of the original series. And I like those
movies. Yeah, Frozen Empire was good. My kid will sit there.
The McCarthy one was terrible.
Terrible. Yeah. Andy will sit there and rattle off like why Garaka was the greatest Ghostbusters villain ever. That's from a 9-year-old. So like his word is the truth when it comes to Ghostbusters. Yeah. No, Ghostbusters 2016 is bad. Leslie, I mean, like she takes a lot of flack for it. I don't blame her. It just is a movie that shouldn't have happened. Like,
it's not. She takes a lot of flack for it because she's the one that's combative to people on Twitter about it.
That's very true.
So like, it's not even her fault. I didn't even think that she was specifically bad in the movie. I think she's very funny and talented.
It's very like Dave and Tony Khan-esque, like you're engaging. By the way, no one should ever engage. We're getting a lot of numbers because of X, but like no one should ever engage on X. It's become a horrible, horrible platform. Don't argue with people. It's a waste of time and energy. I advise that to everybody. But like, when you play in the, how's that phrase go? If you play in the mud, don't get mad at the pigs. Something like that. I don't know.
Something like that. When you play with pigs and get mad at the mud.